Good morning, everyone. 8:15, time for your extra shot of news today. We have some topics we're going to get to, and we've brought Michelle into the picture today. So thank you for joining us, and you're pretty in pink. So yeah, leave your comments. We'll be monitoring them. How do we feel about women finally being able to drive in Saudi Arabia? I want to give it up for the women.
That's so awesome.
The women's activists who have been working hard since the 90s and probably well before then. It's been documented since the 90s that, you know, women should have the right to drive. They're the only country up until now, and really not even until June, which is what, months away next summer.
It's been long overdue for those women.
For it to be implemented, but this is big.
I wonder how many women are going to be wanting to participate though, because they're so used to not driving. I can imagine being 18 and being, okay, I can actually drive in this country now. How weird is that? Because your mom didn't drive, your grandmother didn't drive out there, so that's going to be the really interesting part of how many people are actually going to participate next June.
Or how many men would be accepting of it. Because it's a thing for the law to change, but that doesn't mean your mentality, your perspective changes.
Right.
So let's say there are cabs and a woman is now driving a cab. Will a man say, who has strong beliefs that maybe you shouldn't be driving in the law, maybe the law, but I don't care, is he then going to say, I'm not riding with you?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be driving.
You're not supposed to be.
So I think it'll get it probably will get interesting because, again, if you believed something for so long and you believe it for maybe religious reasons or economic reasons, whatever the case may be, you probably really don't care what the law says.
Right. Well, the ultra-conservative kingdom, which is has been for so long, has just put this ban on females driving to suppress them, right, as females. I think we, at least, I can speak only for myself, you know, take advantage of the fact that I can drive. I also take for granted the fact that I've always been able to drive. It's never been this idea of, wait, I can't drive because of who I am, because of my anatomy, because of my gender. Identity, like I wouldn't be able to drive. So I look at that as like, wow, I can't believe we were still there. Or I guess we still are there, right? Until this law goes into effect. We are still there in some parts of the world, and this is the last country to have this ban. So I think once this happens and say all goes well and this ban is lifted, to be able to say we live in a world where women around the world and all different cultures are able to drive. I think today is a big day, and I know there are a lot of people. I want to go ahead and pop up one of the images I'm seeing circulating around the socials today. Is it behind us? Okay, so it's the traditional we can do it, right, with the woman's arm, and she's like saying yes, we can do it. But I love that she has her outfit on there and just really cognizant of the culture. And yeah, that's a pretty powerful moment. I know Jen Atkin Hair had originally shared that. At least that's the first time I saw it. I know it's all over the internet, but she's a celebrity hairstylist, and I'm not sure if she is of the culture or not, but she was just celebrating women, right? I think we're in a time where women are celebrating women. Yes. And I've been seeing a lot lately that, you know, you're never gonna not be in a place of success by not rooting other girls on. Does that make sense, right? So you have to root other women on, even if it's not of your culture, or if you've been always given the opportunity to be able to drive, you have to want that for other women so that we're all equal, right?
It was really interesting because when you guys first brought up this story earlier this morning, I was like, really? I didn't know that they couldn't drive out there. That's such a strange concept. I didn't think that something like that would even be possible. So it's really interesting to see that, you know, the Crown Prince of his name is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He's the king's 32-year-old son. So the reason why he's doing this is he's thinking about the future economy of Saudi Arabia. So he wants the economy to grow by allowing these women to drive so they can actually go into the workforce and help the economy that way. So hopefully that will stimulate the economy. Hopefully women coming up next June are lining up to, or even signing up to go ahead and join this movement of
and not be intimidated.
And it speaks to the idea of different generations. Not to say that the older generation was a little more traditional, but we are a global economy now. Right. You can hop on the internet and talk to somebody that's light years away. You know what I mean? So I think if you want to be able to keep up, and if you want to be able to progress as a country and just as a world in general, we need all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Whether that means women having access to driving, or with Michelle Obama, that she had the Let Girls Learn campaign, because in some places girls aren't allowed to go to school or get the same education that some guys get. Whether that means taking more initiatives here in America to push women to get higher positions in corporate America. So
I think there's construction.
There's
going
construction right
on in our
outside.
parking lot.
right, so or get women getting more construction jobs. So whatever it may be, I think if we want to keep up as a world, we need all hands on deck.
Yeah, at the turn of the century, when I'm looking at that, that's obviously the famous icon that represents Rosie the Riveter. World War II, when the men went off to war, because the woman's place was in the household, right? Women were then given the opportunity to learn because they had to pick up the jobs in the factories, work on cars. And so this became this whole motto of we can do it. And I like how at the bottom there it says we can drive. But I like that we're able to use that now so many decades later for so many different causes. So shout out to the women. I was trying to look at some history here and how in our country the automobile really gave women that knowledge and that power to say we're independent, right? We can hit the wheel. And there's like some history that says 1902, Mary Anderson invented the first windshield wiper. So the fact that dating back is a woman, that when it comes to automobiles, like there is a strong history there within our country. 1916, the Girl Scouts initiated an automobiling badge for girls demonstrating driving skill, auto mechanics, and first aid skills.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. 1916, wow.
You got to remember during the war, World War I and II, when a lot of men weren't there, they gave women opportunity to start working in factories of all kinds, including the auto factories. Because somebody had to pick up the job, and why not let women do it? I mean, we're good. We're good at what we do.
we
kill it out here. So, there's just a long history of being able to do that. But again, in America, we've always been a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to certain things. So. Right. It's long overdue, and shout out to Saudi Arabia, because
really
again,
cool.
It's about time.
And let's see if any of our viewers are saying anything in the meantime.
But somebody, Don was saying, accidents will now quadruple.
Come on, Don.
Don. Be nice.
Don.
Well, there's some shady men on the road too, Don. Come on,
Don.
Some shady men on the road.
I want to please elaborate. Are you just trying to get us to
get all riled up?
To get riled up here, or do you really think that women are worse drivers than men? Because I seem to disagree.
Yeah, I've ridden in many a car.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Many of bad male drivers.
Exactly. I'm happy for women over there, by the way. Kimberly Morgan says, loyal viewer. Thank you, Kimberly. She also says, woo, what's that saying? Old habits die hard. There's going to be a lot of the older generations turning their nose at women driving, and that'll be both men and women. It'll take time for women driving to become become the norm. May take a few generations, and that's true. Because like to Cornelia's point, it sounds like a car is ready to come through the door. By the way, speaking of cars, but like Cornelia's saying, there are a lot of things in our country that, because of old standards and old societal norms, just because it is considered a law doesn't mean that people agree, and doesn't mean that people understand or even want to understand. Yeah. So I can imagine. There are probably protests happening right now. I mean, there's got to be, right?
Oh, yeah,
people aren't just like, that's nice. For the millennials of that generation, I mean, this is like, whew, thank goodness this happened in our time.
And maybe not, because sometimes you have younger people who are very traditional. They are on board with the way things were, and they don't really see the need, especially in Saudi Arabia, where men get to determine a lot of things that women are allowed to do. Yeah. You may have some young women who are like, I like the way that is. I don't mind my husband, my brother, my uncle, in some cases your son, your younger son, to be able to dictate what you do. Some people don't have a problem with it.
That's all they know, though.
Yeah.
So now that they have the opportunity to maybe drive or do other things, their mind is going to expand, and they have the opportunity to learn more. David actually also weighed in. He said, limiting what anyone can do based on gender or background is just plain dumb. We need an even playing field where everyone gets a chance to pursue their interests and dreams. And so for these Saudi Arabian women, this is a really good thing for them. And I'm just curious, like, what are the rules going to be? Do you have to be 18? Do you have to be 21? Do you have to be 16? Like here in the States? But it's a great opportunity for these women to expand their horizons and do something that could potentially change the world, which it's going to by letting them drive.
Yeah, and I'm looking now, so you guys are on Facebook right now watching us on Extra Shot. If you look to the right side, there's always that trending section, and it shows the top, I don't see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like top 12 topics that are trending across social or across Facebook. And one of them, and it's growing in popularity, is this Saudi Arabia lifting of the ban. And there are a lot of people sounding off saying, let's not forget the women who probably died, the women who were abused, the women who aren't here anymore because they were trying to fight for this right.
Absolutely.
Since the 90s.
Yeah, and there's one woman in particular that was listed in the article that we're referencing, Manal al-Sharif. She was one of the women behind the Women to Drive campaign. And at one point, she was jailed in Saudi Arabia in 2011 for posting a video on YouTube of herself wearing a black headscarf, sunglasses, and driving a car. And that was 2011. So yeah, a lot of people have been making a stand
long ago.
Yeah, for a minute. And again, in this case, she was arrested.
I guess I'm curious to hear from some women who are actually living in the States who are of this background. And I want to know what you guys actually think. I mean, you're probably here in the States and you're like, I'm driving now, so this is really great. But for your family or friends or anyone you know back home, how different is this? How big is this? I mean, this is potentially a really big story, and all these women now potentially have the opportunity to drive next summer, and so that's a really, really great movement for all of them and progress.
Absolutely, and I think too we have to be careful, and I'm guilty of this when using the proper words, right? By saying allowing women to drive, I'm seeing some comments of people being like, oh yes, like a man has finally allowed a woman to drive. She's fully capable of driving, so let's maybe not use that word. I see New York Times with their headline using Saudi Arabia agrees to let women drive. Because it's been a debate for so long. The allowing has just, I guess, further implementing the fact that men have had this sort of control. But that's just pointing out the fact that's how that culture has been for so long, which is sad. We certainly don't agree with it, but I am trying to be careful when using that sort of language. But people are saying like, yeah, welcome to 2017, Saudi Arabia, but. Let us know how you feel about this, how this makes you feel, again, in 2017. We'll keep this conversation rolling as we learn more, because it's a good point. What is it going to take for a woman to be able to drive in the country?
I mean, just think
what are the
about
rules?
Just trying to teach them. How weird is it going to be? I mean, it's really cool, but it's like, well, you weren't driving a long time ago, and you were never actually driving, so the fact that you're going to be behind the wheel, I mean, I'm sure some people are probably afraid, but it's like,
it's kind of like a New Yorker.
Cool. Yeah.
It's kind of like New Yorkers. I know New Yorkers who are 56 who have no driver's license because they don't need one. I have a friend, Autumn, who's from Boston, lived in New York, and she was well into her 20s, late 20s, and was like, I don't have a license, I don't want one because I can just take the train, I can hop in a dollar cab, Uber. Yeah, so it's like New York.
Right, so
like New York.
Hitting the street for the first time going, do I even want to do this? Oh man, okay.